all starts off with a little girl, Laura, as a child, seeing her mother dead on the bed. You know it's her because she's got the dot, and older her's got the dot as well. She spends her whole life just at work, clearly having been traumatized by seeing her mother dead on the bed, having probably overdosed. And she sits next to the most unconvincing patient in this entire movie. Thinks he's going to die. She says it's not real in that condescending psychiatric way that they always do. She refuses to go home, and I can imagine that staying in a clinic like this that is the shade of Pepto-Bismol everywhere you look would drive you insane as well. Her boss, who looks very familiar, basically tells her to go home, and she tells him, hey, would you remember to treat the patients like they're supposed to be treated? And he tells her there are certain methods to how we do things here. You can't just give people treatment who have no insurance. But Rose is very humanitarian. She's very altruistic. It is true that establishments have forgotten that they're actually supposed to have the patients in mind. But then again, they need money to run, so... Anyway, things get spicy right at the beginning of the movie. So Rose Cotter over here sees a finicky patient, the new patient, this finicky girl that looks like she's on meth, a PhD candidate, grad student, named Laura Weaver. Laura tries to explain to her what she's seeing, and it really does seem like she's crazy. It's a thing that wears people's faces. Strangers, people that you know, people that you don't, tells her things. Like today's the day she's gonna die.
Hey, can you look at me, please? It's okay.
Laura starts choking to death out of fear, and Dr. Cotter's like, the hell is going on? What is she looking at? So she goes to call emergency, and she keeps her back to the psychotic patient. Next time she looks at her, this is what she sees. Gotta admit, this next scene made me change my mind about watching it alone. I decided to watch it with my husband instead. It's the freaking music. Anyway, Laura here looks possessed by something, and she carves a smile from her mouth, her cheekbones, through her neck to the other side, using the porcelain glass. And then she dies. Rose is traumatized and terrified because even while she was dead, her mouth was still set in a very large smile. They're trying to give people seizures before the movie starts. Anyway, after Rose's boss talks to the police officers, one of them being extremely unprofessional, she goes back home to take a breather, and as soon as she sees the cat, I have to look up if the cat dies. Unfortunately, the kitty does. It's horrible. Yeah. But the good news is, it looks kind of, like, obviously digital, so it's not as bad as it could be. Yep. Anyway, Rose's fiance, A-Train, moves at the speed of freaking light, so she doesn't even see him enter the freaking house, scares the bejesus out of her. Later that night, even though she's not into it, Rose has dinner with her conceited sister and her sister's nosy husband who has no business talking to Rose the way he does.
Oh, sorry, what's Saturday?
I'm sorry, is that a joke?
Wow.
Rose Jackson's 7th birthday party.
I can't, I have work.
What do you mean you have to work? It's Saturday.
Rose, there have to be plenty of crazies out there who will actually pay you for your time.
I know he's trying to be a member of the family, but he's seriously overstepping his bounds. You were the husband. You're not her fucking cheerleader. Grow a pair of balls and jump off mine. The policeman comes back the next day at Rose's job. We figure out that this big ol' eyelash boy was actually Rose's ex-boyfriend. He wanted to make sure she was okay. He's like, yeah, I'm fine. I got some dick at home, in case you hadn't noticed.
You do know she's engaged, right? I'm single.
Did not see that coming.
After that, a thirsty, backstabbing nurse hits on her ex. We see Rose looking over that report to see what had happened to that dead girl. Rose, having witnessed this girl end her life in front of her, finds out that that girl had witnessed the professor ending his life in front of her in a very similar way, utilizing a tool. The string of events are very awkward. As Rose answers a call from her sister saying, you know what, I was a bitch. I didn't mean to talk to you like that last night at dinner. Should do it in front of everyone since I embarrassed you in front of everyone, but oh well. Rose sees somebody outside just standing there looking up directly at her office. Freaking creepy. What in the world? Oh hell no. As she's walking, she walks by a previous patient and notices he is smiling like a Cheshire cat, and he's stuck like this, like a freaking Christmas tree wearing human teeth. You know, these parts might have been a little bit more scary if they had not all been spoiled in the trailer.
Everybody dies.
Carl, look at me.
You're going to die. You're going to die. You're going to die. You're going to die.
They really really need to have chosen a better actor. Like, his face along with his voice, man, that's just unfair. Rose calls for the guy to be restrained, even though when she called for help and they immediately came in, the guy was already in his bed just lying down. Now he has this horrific, traumatic experience of going to this facility where they claim they were going to help him and make him feel safe, and he just gets attacked while he's lying in his bed not having done anything. Poor Rose, but poor guy. This guy, her boss, says that the guy has never had any ounce of aggression having been here. And I get that, but like, that's your response after your freaking employee tells you she was attacked? I mean, I'm all for not believing all women because, you know, people can lie or people can have psychotic breaks. But I would at least investigate the incident a little bit further. Not fully believe what she says, sure, why not? But not fully writing it off either. Especially since the guy has never had any ounce of aggression, but he's psychotic. Neither has Rose, and neither have you known her to be a freaking liar. Well, the boss puts her on paid leave and she drinks her sorrows away. She's all alone. And while she's alone, her alarm suddenly goes off. The security company calls her just to see if everything's okay. She didn't check the whole house, but she assumes that there's no intruder.
The back door of my house is open.
Are you alone in the house, ma'am?
Yes.
Are you sure?
What?
Are you sure you haven't let something inside, Rose?
What if you just not look behind you when a freaking monster tells you to look behind you? What if you just, like, I don't know, go into the next room and hide about you? But like, if someone tells me, hey, look behind you, the first thing I'm doing is booking it into the other room without looking behind you. No, sirree, am I gonna follow what you say? Then she gets a call and the phone is on the base even though she was just holding it in her hand. And it's the security people asking if she's okay. In that case, who the hell was she on the phone with? The police are called. Of course, they find nothing. They say it was a false alarm. That happens all the time. I'm sorry, but if that's happening all the time and this is the same company that's doing it, probably switch to a different company. Her fiance comes home and he's like, did you break another glass, bitch? She calls for Mustache, her cat, and the cat is nowhere to be found. I've already mentally prepared myself for this because, good God, I cannot stand it. Ugh, I cannot stand it when freaking animals die in movies. I'm sorry, call me an idiot.
You're an idiot.
Because Rose can't sleep, she listens to the audio from when that crazy girl came into her room, right before ending her life. She could swear that she hears a whisper. Instead of turning the volume up even higher or amplifying the audio, she leans in closer even though she has headphones on. And then we get a jump scare because that's what the majority of this movie relies on. Rose pulls out a knife and scares the mess out of her fiance. She goes to see her therapist, doctor therapist lady, and she's just hoping to get all drugged up so she doesn't have to deal with this. She apparently stopped coming to her sessions, which makes her a really bad therapist because, as she said, how are you going to help people and you're not even helping yourself? Your own mental health is not in order. What have you been doing, girl? Now you're asking to be prescribed drugs. Rose shows up the next day to her nephew's 7th birthday party as promised. What's going on with that kid? When it's time to open Rose's present, I already knew what was going to happen because I got the spoilers. It's the cat. The cat she was looking for, her cat that she loves so much. Yeah, the cat's in the freaking box. And no, the cat is not alive. The cat is deceased. But with everybody watching, and Rose also watching with that creepy smile, the kid is like, were you guys trying to give me... It's not funny, but it's the way it digitally looks. It's obviously fake and much fatter. You could tell his hand is not even there, but I'm okay with it because they probably didn't want to traumatize kids with showing them something that looked too lifelike. It does look hilarious. I do feel bad for Rose though, because of course she's completely unhinged at losing her cat. I would be too. But the way she responds to everybody else looking around her, it's like she's trying to make herself look crazy.
No, I promise you this wasn't me. It wasn't me, I swear. Somebody please fucking believe me.
You've worked with patients your whole life or your whole professional life, and you know this is the kind of behavior they display that makes people think they're even more crazy, so a therapist would know how to not act so that people would believe her if something's going on. But okay, she's scared and whatnot. But they really try to play it up. Like, I get it, but I've actually seen how people with these situations behave, especially when they don't want to get put away. If they're lucid enough to know what's going on with them, they're lucid enough to lie and say they're okay. Trust me, I know.
What the fuck are you? Leave me the fuck alone! You see her! You have to see her! Please, Holly, tell me that you see somebody.
Wow, great. Yeah, okay. So people will believe you now, even though this is happening, even though you're a freaking therapist and you have been for a very long time. You went to school for this. Surely you would take a moment to, like, call the cops or at least tell someone that somebody is stalking you. Anything else. But You have to see her. Oh my god, tell me you guys see her. Everyone thinks Rose is crazy and her sister doesn't want to have anything to do with her now. I don't know if this is just an American thing or something, but if I saw my sister crash through a table, I don't care what she did. I mean, even if we're estranged, you're supposed to love and care about your sister. Why wouldn't you take your child and give it to your anus-sucking kiss-ass husband and run over to help your sister, who is obviously injured? Instead, she just stands there like she's freaking stupid, like she's terrified of her sister. Even when her sister gets up and she's obviously really hurt and something is really wrong, look at her dumb ass. Just, wow, okay. So of course, Rose starts screaming like a freaking maniac. I get it, she's frustrated. And right now, she's not logically thinking about how to help her case and make people actually believe her and not think she's crazy. Really not in the mental state to be helping people, and I mean before all this started happening. She finally confides in her fiance about what's happening. A-Train is like, you know, I'm a superhero, right? Like, I don't have time for this shit. I literally don't have time for it because I'm like the fastest man alive. But she gets mad at him and is like, why do you want to bail on me? And all he's saying is it's hereditary, right? This mental illness shit. I have to think about that before hitching my life to you. And yeah, the way he kind of said it came out insensitive, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's not like he knows what to say in this situation. He's not a therapist.
No, please, Trevor, I'm in danger.
Rose, did you kill Mustache?
No, that was not me.
What happened to him?
It was this thing.
You see what I mean? She has to be the dumbest character on the face of the earth, or she's already unhinged, which made it even better for this thing to use her as a vessel because she's so freaking stupid. It's not me. It was the thing. Are you serious right now? She does some more research. Oh, look, they're using Google instead of something like Smoogle or what those other movies use when they can't afford to use shit. She's obviously still having some traumatic dreams about her mother and the guilt. Then Rose goes to the professor's wife, the one who bludgeoned himself with a hammer in front of the girl that ended her life in front of Rose. The wife shows him the demon, the thing that wears people's faces. She just couldn't bring herself to go in the room and take down all this stuff because she just didn't want to be in there. Later, Rose tells this woman, so your husband wasn't crazy, he was not insane, like I'm seeing the same things he's seeing, they're real. And the wife says the most realistic thing somebody would usually say in this situation, but it's frustrating for us as the audience because we can see what Rose is seeing. She kicks her out New York style, and Rose goes to her ex's apartment. He's a cop, so he can help her. All of a sudden, she needs a favor and is all kissy-kissy even though he was trying to reconcile with her. Reluctantly, he looks at the past cases, and just as Rose suspects, each of those cases are a chain. It's a pattern. The girl who had come in and sliced her neck open with the porcelain glass had seen her professor bludgeoned to death. And the professor had seen another woman end her life at a convention that he went to, which is what his wife had said, which policeman here confirmed through the evidence reports. Every time they go back, the person who ended up slashing themselves or bashing themselves off the face of the earth saw someone do it in front of them previously. 4 to 7 days would last until they did it to themselves. And the woman at the convention that the professor had seen end her life had seen this man use some garden tools and slice open his chest cavity right in front of her. There always has to be a witness. And he was smiling. When Rose goes back home, she's ambushed by the therapist and her fiance. She guilt trips and gaslights her fiance, basically telling him that even though he's ill-equipped to deal with something like this, he should have just dealt with it. Even though he's not a licensed therapist, and he is nothing of the sort. And he is literally helping her by getting someone who she knows, not a stranger, her actual therapist who she stopped seeing, to help her. Anybody else would have just been like, all right, you know what, deuces, this is not what I signed up for. Rose shortly leaves after being ambushed. She's not about that life and goes to her sister's house to make up. Her dumbass, nipple-sucking husband answers the door and barricades it and prevents her from coming in. Like, I get that your kid... Wait a minute. Her sister does come to the door.
Good idea.
Greg, let me talk to my fucking sister, okay? Holly!
You're gonna come over here and talk to me like that?
Holly, can I talk?
Who the hell are you? Why don't you go ice your lips? They're obviously hot and raw from all that friction from kissing your wife's ass so much.
Honestly,
Yeah,
so.
it's fine. It's
Holly,
fine.
just go the fuck. All right, fine.
What a dog. Ew. She literally treats him like a freaking ball on a leash. Anyway, why is she blonde and their kid is blonde and okay, you know what? Whatever. Wouldn't be surprised. Holly is willing to hear out her sister. Her sister does sound pretty crazy, but she shows her files of dead people and she says this has happened to other people. Listen to me. I'm cursed. Something's cursing me. And she sounds so freaking insane. Wouldn't blame the sister. The sister says this has happened to Mom. It's exactly what happened to her. Oh, well, how would you know? You were never around. You left first chance you get. You left me with all of Mom's crazy and I had to deal with it. Yeah, because my mental health was on the line. You don't know what it was like. I got the brunt of it being the firstborn. And I didn't mean to leave you in that situation, have you find her like that. Don't really seem like you regretted all that much. But anyway, after they hash that out, we get an upcoming jump scare that is totally ruined by the trailer. This is supposed to be her sister coming to make up with her, but
Holly.
maybe if we hadn't seen this in the trailer, it wouldn't have been so comical just now and not have the same effect. For a movie that relies so much on jump scares, why do you show so many of them in your freaking trailers? Rose is losing her shit, and the kid is losing his shit too, watching her through the window. Rose eats like she hasn't eaten in 6 months, and then she gets a call from her ex. It turns out he's found 20 cases involving 19 victims. But when she asks why there's only 19 and not 20 if there were 20 cases, it's because one person is alive. Just like Final Destination, one person always makes it out. His business partner ended his life in front of him, and 4 days later, this guy kills a woman he's never met before. And a week later, the eyewitness to the murder of that woman ends their life. And so the pattern resumes. Rose tells him finally what this is all about, and he's inclined to believe, but it does sound unbelievable. He's probably more open to believing it because he actually saw the cases did have a pattern. They go to the holding facility where this guy named Tally is. Rose pretends that she's getting the information from one of her patients. Tally tells her to get rid of the cop and he'll talk, as though they don't have freaking surveillance in there to listen to what people are saying, and if they don't, they should. He says, yeah, you gotta make sure that somebody sees you kill someone else. It's the only way this thing will leave you alone. But then she blows up and says she can't kill someone. He goes nuts because he's like, no, you have it, and he doesn't want her and her life in front of him because the curse will go back to him. Can it even go back to him? What if there are multiple witnesses? Do they all get the curse? What if you end your life without having any witnesses? Does the curse end with you, or does it just float in the air until it finds someone else? So many questions. Even though she's asking a lot of her ex-boyfriend, she gives him next to nothing about what to do. So if something happens, he doesn't even know how to help himself or anybody else in the situation. I hate her character. When Rose gets home, her therapist calls her. Her fiance is also trying to get a hold of her. Suddenly, the therapist shows up at her door. Rose kind of has a session with her for a little bit. The therapist wants her to convince her that she's not a danger to her or others. When she asks Rose how she's doing, Rose basically unleashes on her and says, yeah, you've been making freaking house calls. My fiance thinks I'm nuts. Sister won't talk to me. Yeah, but other than that, I'm doing great. How's your week?
Should you get that?
What?
Rose, it's Madeline. I've been trying your mobile all morning. I'm very concerned about how we left things yesterday.
Oh, look at that. It happens to be her therapist on the phone. But how could she be talking to her therapist on the phone when her therapist is sitting right in front of her? Oh. Ew. The movie did start off very scary, but as it goes along, it starts to kind of lose me because some of the actors they get are not very convincing with their smiles.
No.
Almost time, Rose.
I cannot take that seriously. Ew, like what? Doesn't even look creepy. It just looks ridiculous. Good grief. They couldn't cast other people. Oh man, devolves into comedy after that. So Rose is like, okay, I gotta think about killing someone, so she hides a knife in her sleeve. She goes into the Pepto-Bismol clinic, even though she's on leave. And she goes to see poor old Carl, who never deserved any of this. The doctor comes in and she's like, oh, you're here, a witness, awesome. So I have a knife and I'm gonna stab up this patient. Would you watch? Watching? But the patient starts laughing, and then the doctor peels off his face. Turns out it was all a dream. The doctor jump scares her because that's what this movie likes to do. He sees the knife on her chair. She gets another jump scare, and he tries to stop her because he knows that she's a danger to herself and others. While she was talking to the doctor boss, she had told him she needed to be alone, and she's like, you know what? That's a good idea. If there's no witnesses around, then it stays with me. Conveniently, the old house she grew up in is in the middle of the woods. Good grief. I mean, they didn't sell the property. This is where she had found her mom dead. We find out that that her mom had been overdosing and she said she made a mistake and asked Rose for help. Rose was only 10 and so terrified, even though her mom was telling her to call the police, Rose just froze up and ran away and left her mom. None of the lights work, so she gets a torch, which we know was going to catch on fire at some point and burn the whole house down. Later, she talks to her dead mother, who tells her that she's so sorry for being a bad mom, but she could have called the cops and help her. Rose says, I was only a child and I was afraid of you, and that's why I didn't. I'm not going to carry this guilt anymore. I'm done. Rose says she has to let all this go, and her mom's like, bitch, I ain't going nowhere. Your mind makes it real. Oh, snap.
Jump scare!
Isn't that flipping annoying?
You can't escape your mind, Rose.
And this is where it stops being freaking scary for me. Having the demons talk, that's something that just right out the window for me. Now you made them more human, and now they're no longer scary. Should have kept to the format that It Follows did. She says, it's my mind. Torch you. How in the hell was her hand not burned? I mean, adrenaline is one hell of a drug, though. Am I right? The monster's set on fire. The house is on fire, just like I said. She drives back home, goes to her ex and tells him how sorry she was about how things didn't work out, and she was afraid of letting people go, yada, yada, yada. You know, the pre-screwing phase of you speak to someone. Oh, that's so sweet. So she asks if for one more favor, she could just stay here, and he could sleep. Not with her. I want to get any ideas. But if he could watch her sleep or stay with her while she sleeps. He says he'll stay with her.
I'll stay with you forever.
And that's what makes the movie so great. Because you thought you got away. You thought it was that easy. Oh, there goes the jump scare again. She runs out of the house and realizes she's never left that house. Meanwhile, as I expected, the real Joel shows up. And now she's terrified because this thing is ready, and she's more afraid that Joel's gonna get hurt because he's gonna watch her end her life and the curse is gonna be passed on to him. Then the thing peels back its face and it's this long SCP looking thing. It completely takes hold of her. It pries her mouth all the way open, farther than it should go, and then it crawls itself in there and possesses her. What in the freaking Michael Jordan feet? Yo, this thing. Why are you doing this? You know how much professional, like, opulence you could have if you redirect your talents? Anyway, Joel knows exactly what this thing is based on how she described it. So he sees her pouring kerosene in herself with that stupid smile in the matchbox. He watches as she opens the matchbox. You love this person. I get it. Where's the light coming from on the side of his face? Anyway, why would you sit there and watch this happening? You're an officer. Wouldn't you carry your firearm with you at all times? Before, well, if he strikes, yeah, kind of hard because he doesn't want to burn himself up. But okay, say you can't stop her. It's gonna happen no matter what you do. If you try to have it, she can do it and blow both of you up. If you shoot and it ricochets, there's a spark, laced with a spark or too much heat, that will put her afire as well. But why do you keep watching? She burns herself, engulfed in flame, and he just keeps watching as though he were doing this on purpose. My thing would be to look away. He is traumatized because this is the woman that he loves and he's always loved her. He can see her burning herself to death. And he's a queasy officer because even when he looked at the pictures of those other dead people, he was obviously not jaded seeing them. So all it takes is for something like this to traumatize him. And a lot of officers are traumatized, but he's still green in what he's seen. Now this is someone that he loves very much. Yet he knows exactly what this thing is based on what she said, and he chose to still look. Unless he actually didn't believe her, but you read about the cases and the coinkydinkies. Let's just hope that he's an officer, and so he can just frame killing someone and say that that person was running away or something, and that's why he shot him down. What's the worst that can happen? He gets suspended. And that's the end of the jump scare ridden movie. Smile was an interesting movie with an interesting concept that was just basically told in a slightly different way, in a much cheaper way, but essentially is a story of It Follows and The Ring. Gotta pass it on to someone else to propagate the spirit. Only the main character dies in this. The ultimate one I think is unfair though is It Follows. If you haven't watched the movie It Follows, now there's something that scares. I don't scare easy, but that movie had me messed up for weeks. Thanks so much for watching. If this has been Ulterior, you ask, we